The world as a rigged room. The modern world often feels like a crowded room where everyone is chasing the same prize: status, wealth, influence, recognition. But if you look closely, you'll notice something unsettling. Not everyone is playing the same game, and certainly not by the same rules. Some fight their battles honorably. They work hard, keep their word, treat others with respect, and believe that success earned honestly is the only success worth having. These are the people who place their trust in meritocracy, in the belief that integrity is rewarded in the long run. But alongside them, and often ahead of them, are the others, the liars, the manipulators, the ones who smile while cutting your legs out from under you. They are not bound by the rules of fairness. For them, morality is not a compass but a costume, worn when convenient and discarded when it gets in the way. And so, we find ourselves staring at an ugly truth: the ruthless are often the ones who climb highest. They ascend faster, cut more deals, seize more opportunities, not by virtue of being the best, but by being the most willing to trample whoever stands in their way. It leaves us wondering, is the game of life itself rigged to reward the worst among us? A pattern as old as power itself. This isn't a new discovery. History's stage is crowded with examples. The cunning Roman emperor who secured the throne through treachery. The corporate mogul who eliminated rivals with calculated deceit. The politician who rose to power on empty promises and the exploitation of fear. It's easy to dismiss such figures as exceptions, but the truth is darker: they are patterns, not anomalies. Ruthlessness is not just a glitch in the system. It's built into the way human competition operates. In a world where resources are limited and ambition is limitless, the willingness to deceive, dominate, and disrupt often provides a tactical edge. The reality is brutally simple. Those who hesitate for the sake of morality often get left behind. And those who shed morality like an inconvenient burden tend to surge ahead. This is not a pleasant truth to face. It forces us to ask a dangerous question: is morality, in the realm of power, actually a disadvantage? Nietzsche's lens: master morality versus slave morality. To answer this, we turn to Friedrich Nietzsche, a thinker who refused to sugarcoat the nature of power. Nietzsche argued that morality is not a divine truth handed down from the heavens but a human invention, born from the endless struggle between the strong and the weak. He distinguished between two moral codes: master morality and slave morality. Imagine two warriors on an open battlefield. One is decisive, fierce, and unafraid to take what he wants. His sense of good comes from what empowers him, strengthens him, and asserts his will over the world. This is master morality, a morality of strength, self-definition, and ambition. The other warrior waits, hesitant, looking for reassurance. He values humility, obedience, and self-sacrifice. His definition of good comes from compliance with an external standard, often one imposed by those in power. This is slave morality, a morality of restraint, born from the survival instinct of those without the strength to dominate. Nietzsche's point was brutal: slave morality doesn't protect the weak from the strong, it cements the strong in power. By glorifying submission, humility, and passive endurance, it conditions the powerless to accept their place. And in our modern context, the lesson is clear. While good people hesitate, those who operate with the ruthless decisiveness of master morality take the high ground. In a competition where hesitation equals defeat, the outcome is rarely in doubt. The paradox of ruthlessness. But here lies a paradox: while ruthlessness may open doors in the short term, it rarely sustains power in the long term. The same cunning that propels someone to the top often becomes the seed of their downfall. History is littered with the corpses of the overconfident, kings who trusted fear more than loyalty, dictators toppled by their own inner circle, CEOs ousted after years of political backstabbing. Fear builds empires quickly, but also corrodes them from within. This means that although the worst often rise first, they rarely endure. True, the ruthless can win the sprint, but they almost never win the marathon. The myth of a fair world. The deeper problem is not simply that ruthlessness exists, but that so many of us are unprepared for it. From childhood, we are told that the world is fair, that good people are rewarded, and justice inevitably prevails. This is comforting, but dangerously naive. Psychologists call this belief the just world fallacy, the tendency to think life is inherently fair and that people get what they deserve. But when you cling to this belief, you stop taking responsibility for your own strategy. You wait for fairness to save you instead of adapting to reality. The truth is that the game is not fair. It never was. Fairness is a story we tell to maintain order, not a description of reality. And until you accept this, you will be at a disadvantage in any arena where power is at stake. The Übermensch, a third path. Nietzsche's answer was not to embrace blind ruthlessness or cling to naive morality. Instead, he envisioned the Übermensch, the overman, someone who transcends both illusions and limitations. The Übermensch does not play by the moral rules handed down by others, nor does he fall into the corrosive trap of cruelty for its own sake. His power is not rooted in the destruction of others but in the mastery of himself. This is the will to power, redefined, not as domination over others, but as the relentless drive to shape oneself into something greater. To live with self-awareness, create meaning in a meaningless world, and build something that endures beyond one's own life. While the ruthless exploit, the Übermensch creates. While others chase temporary victories, the Übermensch plays the infinite game, seeking growth, depth, and legacy. For principles to master power without losing yourself. Accept reality without bitterness. Stop expecting fairness as a reward for virtue. Understand that power is neutral, it bends to those who understand it. Develop strategic empathy. Learn to read motives and anticipate moves. This allows you to navigate deception without becoming a deceiver yourself. Build inner power first. The most resilient form of power comes from within: skills, knowledge, self-discipline. These cannot be stolen from you. Create instead of exploit. Build something of value, whether that's a business, an idea, or a movement. The power you create will outlast the power you steal. Yes, the ruthless often rise first. But they rarely stand last. The path of the Übermensch is harder, slower, and less immediately gratifying, but it leads to a kind of power the ruthless will never understand, power that endures because it is rooted not in fear, but in strength, not in exploitation, but in creation. If the game is rigged, then change the game. Don't wait for the world to reward you for playing fair, master the rules, then write your own. Conclusion: power, morality, and the choice that defines you. The world, as we've explored, is not the fair arena we were promised in childhood stories. It is not a meritocracy where virtue automatically translates to reward. It is a battlefield, sometimes fought in boardrooms, sometimes in political chambers, sometimes in the quiet corners of our daily interactions, where strategy, adaptability, and perception often matter more than moral purity. And in this battlefield, we have seen a recurring truth: those willing to lie, manipulate, and dominate often rise faster than those who cling to ideals without understanding how to protect them. This is not cynicism. It is observation, backed by centuries of history and the unchanging patterns of human behavior. From ancient empires to modern corporate giants, from royal courts to digital platforms, the ruthless have always found ways to exploit the structures others take for granted. But acknowledging this truth is not the same as surrendering to it. Why recognizing reality is the first step. Too many well-intentioned people handicap themselves by clinging to the comforting lie that goodness always wins in the end. This belief does not protect them, it exposes them. By assuming that moral virtue will act as a shield, they fail to develop the skills and awareness needed to navigate a competitive world. Nietzsche called out this blindness through his critique of slave morality, a mindset that elevates passivity, obedience, and moral purity not because they are inherently better, but because they are survival strategies for the powerless. The problem is that these strategies do nothing to shift the balance of power. They reinforce it. If we are to transcend this cycle, we must begin by stripping away illusions. The world is not inherently fair. Life will not reward you simply for being good. Your virtues must be paired with competence, strategy, and the ability to defend yourself from exploitation. This is not pessimism, it is liberation. Once you stop expecting the world to conform to a moral script, you are free to write your own. The trap of ruthlessness. It would be tempting to conclude, then, that the answer is to play the same game as the ruthless, out-cheating the cheaters, out-manipulating the manipulators. And indeed, many take this path. For a time, they rise quickly. Their names appear in headlines. Their influence spreads. They are envied. But ruthlessness, when untethered from wisdom, always contains the seeds of its own destruction. It is a short-term strategy disguised as long-term strength. The same fear that sustains a tyrant also breeds conspiracies against them. The same deception that wins a deal undermines trust and stability. History is littered with examples. Emperors betrayed by their guards, CEOs ousted by their boards, politicians destroyed by the very factions that once served them. Ruthlessness can win you the throne. It cannot guarantee you'll keep it. The third path, the Übermensch. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch offers a third way, one that rejects both blind moral submission and self-destructive cruelty. The Übermensch is not concerned with conforming to inherited rules nor with mindlessly breaking them for power's sake. Instead, they seek mastery over themselves and their environment. The Übermensch is strategic, not naive. They see the game for what it is but refuse to become a slave to it. They understand that power is not inherently evil, it is neutral, shaped by the hands that wield it. And they choose to wield it in ways that build rather than simply consume. This is not a call to idealism divorced from reality. It is a call to informed strength. The Übermensch studies human nature deeply, understands the forces of competition and ambition, and moves within them like a master chess player, never out of control, never blindly reactive. The 4 commitments of enduring power. To live by this path is to make 4 unshakable commitments. Commitment to reality over comfort. Refuse to be lulled by the myth of the just world. Accept that life is not fair, and see this not as a curse, but as an opportunity to act with clarity rather than complacency. Commitment to strategic vision. Develop foresight and strategic empathy. Understand motives. Anticipate moves. Recognize when someone's apparent virtue is a mask and when an enemy is hiding in the shape of a friend. Commitment to inner mastery. Build skills, discipline, and resilience that cannot be taken from you. This is the foundation of real independence. The ruthless depend on external control. The self-mastered depend on nothing they do not own within themselves. Commitment to creation over exploitation. Anyone can destroy. Few can build. The ruthless win the short game by tearing others down. The true master wins the long game by creating something that outlives them. Whether that's a business, an idea, an art form, or a movement. Why the Übermensch outlasts the tyrant. The tyrant must constantly watch for betrayal. The deceiver must constantly invent new lies to cover the old. The manipulator must always maintain control over the illusions they've spun. This is a life of paranoia and instability. The Übermensch, by contrast, does not rely on control through fear. Their influence comes from strength, vision, and the value they bring. While tyrants build sandcastles in the tide, the Übermensch builds stone fortresses in the mountains. The ruthless play a finite game, they think only of winning the current battle. The Übermensch plays the infinite game, they think of the entire war, of legacy, of what remains when they are gone. Turning insight into action. Knowing this is not enough. It must be lived. In your career, stop waiting for promotions as rewards for quiet diligence. Learn how decisions are really made. Position yourself accordingly. In relationships, stop assuming that good intentions are enough. Study patterns of behavior, understand emotional leverage, and know when to walk away from those who drain your power. In society, stop believing that systems will naturally evolve toward fairness. Influence them where you can, protect yourself where you cannot, and always have a plan for when the structure shifts. This does not mean becoming cynical, it means becoming prepared. The call to overcome. The challenge Nietzsche sets before us is not to overthrow others but to overthrow our own limitations. To become the Übermensch is not to become a conqueror in the shallow sense, but to conquer oneself, to transform fear into strength, ignorance into understanding, and passivity into purposeful action. When you walk this path, the question of whether the world rewards the worst becomes irrelevant. You are no longer playing by their rules. You are building your own game. And this is the ultimate power. The kind that is not granted, not seized, but forged. Final reflection. Yes, the ruthless will always exist. They will rise quickly, burn brightly, and often fall violently. They are players in the eternal theater of human ambition, but they are not the only actors. There is another role to play, the role of the one who sees the game clearly, plays it skillfully, and refuses to be consumed by it. That is the role worth striving for. That is the path of the Übermensch. And in the end, while the ruthless may win their fleeting battles, the true masters, the ones who understand power, wield it with wisdom, and root it in something greater than themselves, will win the war.